You know, you're like a blues guy, musician, and then you're into sports. Running.
Running. That was an interesting thing. Mainly, I was into hockey as a kid, and then in high school, I got into. Even in junior high, I was into running and stuff. But in high school, I really got into it. And they would take this, everybody, on the running club in school, they'd take us down from Edmonton all the way down to Spokane to run Bloomsday.
Really?
Which is, I don't know, like that's ridiculous. I think there's close to 60,000 people run that race. And so, I did Bloomsday 3 times. In fact, grade 11 ended up working out really well. But the funny thing happened back in Edmonton. I was running this race, and it was kind of cold out and rainy and things. But it was probably really the best race I'd ever ran in my life. And just coming in close to the end there, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I had my number pinned to my shirt, and then I ended up zipping up my jacket over my number. So I got.
Oh, no.
They didn't even know that I existed in the race, and I think that was honestly my best run I had ever done. I think based on my age category that I would have done really well. And so that was.
And you disqualified yourself.
I disqualified myself.
Oh,
and not even thinking. It was cold. Zip up your jacket. Like not even thinking that. That was quite something. Yeah.
Wow. So do you still do running?
Actually, just this last year and a half, I pick it up once in a while. I go for a jog and stuff, and it really actually feels good. For the longest time, I got away from endurance sports and got more into weights and stuff. But I'm kind of finding myself back into running a bit. Definitely.
Because I know we were talking earlier about you were planning on doing a tour across Canada. Riding a bike, and I was like, you're gonna have to be in pretty good shape for that. But obviously, if you've been a runner, it's probably not as hard as for most people. Most musicians that might want to do that.
That's what I found for the most part, is that because I was very athletic through my teen years, that now I pick it up again real quick. Like if I get serious and I get training myself, I read books that say, you have to train for at least a year to do this, and I partially agree. I mean, you have to be prepared to go do a big bike tour or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think I could pick it up a lot quicker. I've definitely upped my endurance, my sports, running and things like that. But definitely planning on this bike tour across Canada.
That sounds awesome.
As a musician, that's the interesting thing. The goal is to have a trailer, carry your guitar. There's a lot of ways you can go about it, but you can carry your CDs. You can have people mail out more CDs when you need more. Carry laptops so you can do your promotion on the road. And really, basically, I've always wanted to do bike touring more in depth, and I'm thinking this would be a good way to get out there and meet a lot of people, and still let them know that I'm a musician. Here I am, and it's kind of it's been something that I've been thinking about a long time now, probably 3 years, and it's just there's times when life gets hectic and crazy, and it goes away, but it's still there. It's like I have to do this, and I've sort of come to the realization that I'm gonna do it. I don't know when it's gonna happen, but it's gonna happen. And so I think I gotta just accept that it's not gonna happen overnight. I'm not gonna be able to do this in 6 months' time. It might be 2 years from now, but it's definitely something that I'm gonna do it for sure.
Well, yeah, it sounds neat because you'll be kind of one of the first to do like a tour of biking and touring as a musician. Just traveling along.
That's just it, right? And this day and age, it makes somewhat of a statement. I'm myself a bit of a hypocrite, but I always think, if you're a hypocrite with, say, environmental causes, for example, I've got my issues. I drive a big van around and stuff. It guzzles a lot of gas and things. So, but even as if you can admit that you're a hypocrite, it's still like, it's kind of like a person can still make a stand on something they believe in, and that's why I think this doing this bike tour would really put me back in line with my values.
Yeah.
Really, and kind of refocus myself, because living in the big city, just a person gets so detached. Even though all we hear about these days is green this and green that, it's still very easy to get disattached when life is so hectic.
Oh yeah, it's like, yeah, you get the whole tour bus.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, and you're touring across Canada. This way, it's just going to be like.
Well, that's another thing is you know, bands in a tour bus. Obviously, the fuel factor. Not to mention, you know, carrying around these huge PA systems that are drawing tons of power, like ridiculous amounts of power. In fact, that's one of the things that I'm as guilty as anybody. Like I'm a gear nut, and, you know, but it's kind of that more is better idea. And so musicians have always had these PA systems that have just thousands upon thousands of watts that they're drawing. And lights are even crazy.
Light shows, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of the thinking that, you know, if a person could do these shows in coffee shops, you know, more acoustically, and even just, you know what, out on the street, like busking style, once in a while, you know, that way it actually is fairly green way to go. It's very unorthodox, but it is very. It's very interesting, and it's kind of not a lot of people you know, have ever thought of doing that.
No, and if you could hit some music fairs along the way, like some of the outdoor ones.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good time. That.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, that's one thing for sure, is that there's a lot of options, and that's why I say, like, that I've got to realize that it is something I'm going to do, but I have to take a little while and figure out how I'm going to go about it.
Right. Yeah.
Because obviously there's so many options in doing something that sort of across that much land.
Well, it's going to take a while to get set up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get it organized, and then.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
that sounds awesome.